is up, guys? It's your boy GRC. What an amazing day. Let me tell you a little stuff. First of all, this is Crypto in the Morning live every single day. Every single day. It's not hard for me to say, but man, that's impressive. Every single day at 11 a.m. Eastern. I cannot believe I found a partner that was willing to go every day. What are the chances? What are the actual chances in the United States of America to find a productive 25 to 40-year-old man that will stream every day because he thinks it's awesome and thinks it's obviously scale helpful? Yeah, I found him a long time ago. Didn't know this is how it would all. Wow, think about it, Sam. Wow. That is odd. That is odd. I called Sam begging for mercy about some chick or like bodybuilding or something. And then 6 years later, we're talking ZK rollups, the Ethereum Merge, and we're talking crypto, and we're all in, and it's awesome. It's so awesome. But yeah, so today we're going to be talking about the Ethereum Merge. But we're going to be talking, the thing about talking about the Ethereum Merge is like, yeah, if I was talking to Sam by myself while we were studying, it would be a little different, but I have to get some of you guys ready for it's an understanding curve that I don't want people to miss, because in 10 years, nobody will remember this shit. No one will. And we'll be like, you remember the merge? You remember this stuff? You remember that? And you'll be like, yeah, but I have no idea why it happened or what it was or how things changed or the landscape or anything like that. So we're going to play like a 10-minute video. We're going to show you Vitalik's update. Me and Sam are going to talk about the merge a little bit and some of the things that we think you should be paying attention on. And me and Sam are super bullish on ETH, and me and Sam are not super bullish on the same things at the same time, all the time. But Ethereum's kind of blatantly bullish. Like, it's a little blatant for a serious investor right now because of the triple. Sam, you know about the triple halving? That's what they call it, the reduction in supply. They call it the triple halving because it equated to 3 times of what one Bitcoin halving does in one moment. And it was the triple halving. That was when the beacon chain, which was proof of stake, they had proof of work chain. We were all playing with it for years and years and years, guys, right? Yes, we were playing. And then Vitalik said, let me slide this beacon chain in here so I can do my test runs. But I'm not going to change proof of work right now. 2020, December. Dang, right off the top today, GRC. 2020, December. The merge happens. Everyone talks about the beacon chain is launched. They do their testing. This gives validators time to have enough over 2 years where they can do a 32 ETH stake, Sam. So the guys that remember that, important. I didn't think about this until I was watching some stuff earlier. So that time, 2 years, all those guys that were earning that bread, they get to switch over here and have 32 ETH ready, probably 2 years fair for a validator at that point. And on top of that, they dump the other chain. So when Beacon launches in the merge, they dump the other chain. So what does that do? Cuts all the issuance of that ETH, right? And it's just isolated on this one thing where the new people are. This is all very interesting, guys. I want to talk more about it. I'm excited to learn. And, I go in ebbs and flows, a couple of days here, a couple of days there. Sometimes I like to F off. Sometimes I like to get right on it. I want to get right on it. Saturday, baby. Crypto in the Morning, live every single day at 11 a.m. Eastern. Smash the like, hit the subscribe button. Me and Sam are going to be all over the internet today. We got a lot to talk about. Just Ask Jesse coming on at the end. Let's go.
You already know what time it is.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Waiting on phone.
Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning.
Ready to take notes.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Waiting on phone.
Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning.
Ready to take notes.
Smoking a blunt on my way to the gym. 11 a.m. and I'm already tuned in. Got me some hacks and I'm making a stake. Got me some heads on, I'm making it rain. Pay me some maxi and that just in case. Gym ready set me to show you the way.
D5 Pro.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Waiting on phone.
Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning.
Ready to take notes.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Waiting on phone.
Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning.
Ready to take notes.
Oh, there he is. What's good? Great intro.
Man, my PP-'s this size.
Get up. You gotta level up.
Dang, are you Mason? That's lit. All right, just kidding. We don't want to start like that's absolutely out of line by GRC. Sam, how are you doing today? Let's just start. Oh, dude, this is the runner-up for VIP because we have the other guy. I can't remember his Hex, and then it's like he just switched his name, but it's like Hex PNW.
Yes.
And then we have Pierre's.eth, always saying that we bring that education, always giving us support and super chats. I really appreciate it. Like, I'm glad. It makes me happy to see people in here and supporting, and I hope that it's.
What is WAG me?
What is what?
WAG me. That.
We're all gonna make it.
What is it?
We're all gonna make it.
Okay. That's what he said at the end of his super chat.
Oh, wag me. Cool. I'll wag me. No, but we are all going to make it. But actually, that's not true. A lot of people are going to be dying slaughtered in the next year or so. And I'm not kidding. This is real life. This is human life. You got to be prepared. But I promise you, if you give to this world more than you get back, you will earn everything you deserve. Plus some.
And extra. And
more than you could imagine. It's always more than you could imagine.
Massive, like abundance in not just we think of material things when we think of abundance, but abundance in your relationships, abundance in your health, abundance in your mental state and how you live your life. We're going to get into the Ethereum merge to kind of like preview what we're going to be talking about with a update on the merge and the roadmap for Ethereum. What you were talking about in the intro was very interesting. So there's three parts, at least how I think about this. Ethereum, right? Definitely the second, possibly the best known or utilized crypto out there because it's traded on all these other L1s and L2s.
Hard to even really anymore figure out these numbers unless you're like have a team.
Yeah, it's
literally like
think about this from the three drivers of this, right? And I don't think the market has caught on to this, and I'm with you on this. I believe this 100%. You're going forward, so think about being in a boat or a car, right? And think of like a boat where there's a bunch of room on the boat. You're on a platform, it's all smooth. You're just gliding along on your boat and you're moving forwards. And then you're at the back of the boat, right? Because it's going forwards. Now, the boat stops and then reverses. And you're just sliding across the deck before you get to the front of the boat. We went from an inflationary period in Ethereum to a deflationary period. And the market is sliding on the deck and doesn't realize it yet. Two more.
It's getting slippery too, Sam. And we're going to pull up nomics for sure at some point today. And you're just going to see green, Sam. And I'm not saying that means anything, but it means that GRC is double focused right now, like really locked in on a couple of metrics because I just don't see where that Bitcoin buy pressure is going to come from. But I'm not saying that means that I just don't know Bitcoin like that too. I need to learn more about Bitcoin.
I think that there's definitely going to be a massive bull run in Bitcoin. That I think if somebody's going to invest in Bitcoin, they're going to do very well. But
use your brain real quick and just give us one of those SEC violation price predictions. Like top of the next bull run. If you just had to guess, give it a little feel, give it a little shimmy in your head. Where could you see Bitcoin at the top of this next bull run?
So this is a 100% guess. This is all conjecture. You should definitely never, ever make financial decisions based upon somebody else's guess.
And we are not financial advisors for cryptocurrencies, and we are not do your own research on all of these things. This is about education at this moment.
So the maximum peak of Bitcoin, I don't think that I'm educated enough in that arena to give an idea of something that would be in the realm of accurate. But one thing that I can say that I do personally believe is 100% accurate is that BTC will for sure break 100,000. So if you think of 100,000 as the floor, as the baseline, that's like the bare minimum that will hit in this bull market. The peak, the very high amount, I don't know exactly, but
I would say the highest I could ever imagine with like sustainableness at all is like, I don't even want to say 300. I want to say like 225 in that. But again, Bitcoin is not just like like a light little feather. People also have to remember that like Bitcoin's in centralized exchanges all over the place. It's traded at a lot of different things. There's different pairs. But I think 225,000 would be my max bullish case. And I'd say like 98 to 103,000 would be like my min.
But so think about a tsunami, right? So there's tsunami, right, where there's an earthquake and then it causes this shift, right? And when you cause this shift, it gets this wave, right? And this giant amount of ocean water is moving, right, as you make the adjustment. Think of like putting your body into the bathtub, right? And you create this wave at the opposite end of the bathtub that increases the water there. Well, that's kind of...
That's a big old bathtub.
I'll show you.
We don't got bathtubs like that around here, Sam.
Maybe a pool, a hot tub.
Maybe pool. I get it though. Like if you throw a rock into a pond, right? Like, but Ethereum threw a freaking boulder into a pond, but nobody saw the pond.
But think
nobody
about
had
this.
their eye on the pond at the time. But the wave still happened.
Think about this as the wave being the adoption. Right, we're in this, so it's sometimes you got to step back so we can look at the forest, right? Because we're at 3.5% to 4%. This is going to get to 8% by the end of this year, right? And I think that's probably a 65 to 75%. 8%, right? And maybe so maybe I'm wrong. And you're like, hey, only
oh right, I don't know. That number wouldn't be my forte. I would just have no fucking clue.
But
like,
Now, what happens when that tide comes in? What happens when that tsunami hits the shore? All the boats are lifted up, and that's going to happen with BTC. That's going to happen with Ethereum at a faster rate.
Do you think that Ethereum can do more US dollar volume in this bull run? Like, I know the market cap won't get flopped yet. Maybe it could, I guess, but like, I don't think so. Maybe not market cap, but like actual liquidity and volume. But do you see a world where Ethereum can actually have more legit buyers in this? I'm not talking like the price and everything, but like if you're just putting buyers and US dollar next to each other, like in like new users, like do you think Ethereum could easily outpace?
Well, so how I would think about this is let's define what buyer is, right? Because if you have people getting onto Polygon and they're adopting through Polygon because that's the path that they believe they're most interested in or their friends are interested in. So that's how they get into crypto. Or maybe it's Arbitrum or Optimism or any of these other like layer 2 or layer 1 type of solutions. And they all have Ethereum trading on them, right? So are we going to consider a buyer as including all these other players on these other networks? Or are we going to say buyers are just the Ethereum network?
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever be able to separate those numbers anymore.
Correct. And I think that
you could, I guess, but like
it's a gray area, though, right? Like it's going to, of course, it's going to be included to some degree, but I think that we're going to see, because inflationary to deflationary, because all of the locked Ethereum, because of demand increasing, right? The tsunami is going to come in and it's going to lift all boats. We're going to have a big performance differential between BTC and Ethereum. Like, I think it's
I see 10 to 1, 5 to 1,
5 to 1 seems reasonable. 5 to 1.
I think 10 to 1, like mad bullish craziness. So we're gonna play 10 minutes, 15 minutes of a video. This is to get, again, guys, me and Sam are here every single day. Me and Sam really do want to learn this all the way through to the point where we can make people look silly willies. So this is not going away, but I need to lay the groundwork for 10 more minutes, 15 more minutes. So we can, for me and Sam too, like we don't listen to this shit all day long either. We have stuff to do. So, and Just Ask Jesse's in the green room. Right when this is over, me and Sam are going to comment. Sam, I'd like you to interrupt the video if you'd like to comment on it. And then we're going to be talking about the Pulsechain builders, open discussion. Huge. This is huge.
This is it. This is massive.
Massive, because we've never got all these guys in the same space. KG, an amazing, phenomenal human being, is at the front charge here, along with Jesse. Just ask Jesse. And these guys have, I shouldn't say that because I don't want to, but like they got lots of money in this stuff, guys, and they want this stuff to work out more than anyone. I promise you, they're not like GRC. GRC is like, I don't give a fuck. I do what I want. These guys are like, hey, this is my baby. I want this stuff to work. So please, this is not me talking. This is them. Listen to them when they speak, because different perspective. Okay, so let's play this. Sam, really friggin' amazing video. I'm just going to play it for 15 minutes. I hope you can stay till 12:15. All right, let's go. You really going to... No.
It might just be the first couple seconds that were muted, but you go ahead and play it.
The Ethereum merge, despite being one of the most significant blockchain updates.
Sorry, I was studying this video, so I had to turn it to slow it down. See, some people speed it up when they're studying. GRC slows it down because I actually like to learn.
The history of cryptocurrency is still a poorly understood topic. So what is the Ethereum merge? What are its economic implications? And what are the main merge risks and misconceptions? You'll find answers to these questions and more in this video. Before we begin, if you want to learn more about decentralized finance and the technology behind it, make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit the bell icon, and enable all notifications. Let's start with understanding the motivations behind the merge. The main purpose of the merge is to transition Ethereum from its current proof-of-work consensus mechanism to the proof-of-stake model. In short, in the proof-of-work or POW model, the network is secured by miners who have to purchase and run the mining hardware. In this model, the miners consume electricity in exchange for block issuance and a portion of transaction fees. In the proof-of-stake or POS model, the network is secured by validators who have to stake ETH in order to validate the network. In this model, the validators don't consume much electricity. The transition to POS aims at making Ethereum more energy efficient, more secure, and lays the groundwork for enabling more scalability with sharding later on. The move to POS was...
I don't agree with that statement at all. I don't think that moving to POS makes it more secure in any way, shape, or form. Yes, it reduces...
I want you to write that, not this second, but like in general, like that's a statement I want to just open up. I want to open that back up. I know we went there, but again, I get confused because I forget to think about certain things actively as I move forward. But now I remember that what was the big thing that I was stuck on and we were all stuck on? Is it really better security? What is better security? And what does that really mean? Because I want that word security opened up. That word's starting to piss me off. Security does not mean that you fumble into something and click the wrong button and you have no idea what you're doing. That is not security. Security is about men with hundreds of millions of dollars being able to inject their liquidity into your system, however that works in the system, and nuke the entire thing via some sort of attack. That's how I see security in general, but I also probably need way more so again, let's talk about this. Richard's mentioned this. Every smart dude has mentioned this little giddy up between the two. And some guys say, oh my God, proof of work every time. And some guys are like, that makes no sense. Proof of stake every time. So I just need to open it up again. This is great.
In exchange for block issuance and a portion of transaction fees. In the proof-of-stake or POS model, the network is secured by validators who have to stake ETH in order to validate the network. In this model, the validators don't consume much electricity. The transition to POS aims at making Ethereum more energy efficient, more secure, and lays the groundwork for enabling more scalability with sharding later on. The move to POS was one of the big milestones in the original Ethereum roadmap, and research began before the Ethereum network launched. Instead of transitioning Ethereum to POS in one huge and potentially dangerous change, the Ethereum researchers and developers decided to split it into two steps. The first step, launching the Beacon chain, was successfully executed in December 2020. This allowed for creating a separate parallel POS chain that could be tested in production for a period of time without having any direct impact on the already existing POW network that secures hundreds of billions of dollars of economic activity. Another important reason for launching the Beacon chain earlier was to give enough time to stakers so the amount of staked ETH can be sufficiently large to secure the network at the time of the merge. When making this video, the Beacon chain had over 400,000 validators and over 13 million ETH actively staking. The merge is the second step in the transition to POS, which merges the consensus layer of the Beacon chain with the EVM state of the Ethereum POW chain. More on this later in the video. The transition to POS aims at reducing the power consumption to secure Ethereum by around 99.95%. This in turn brings down a lot of arguments about Ethereum, DeFi, and NFTs killing the planet. As a byproduct, it also makes Ethereum ESG compliant, which can be good for more regulatory-driven institutions that may want to start exploring the Ethereum ecosystem. This can also make Ethereum more friendly to gamers and NFT artists concerned about the environmental impact of crypto. And let's start with a quick analogy. Imagine Ethereum as a car driving on the motorway. The merge aims at transitioning the car's engine from gas to electric. A key difficulty is to do so without stopping the car. To achieve this, the Ethereum developers built a separate electric engine and have tested it with real stake for over 1.5 years. This new electric engine runs in parallel to the existing gas engine. At the time of the merge, the car will switch to using the electric engine and will stop using its current gas-fueled motor. Doing it in this way, first of all, allows for testing the electric engine in parallel. The second benefit is that we can swap the engines without stopping the car. In the case of Ethereum, stopping the car would mean halting the block production, which would result in no new transactions being appended to the blockchain. As we can imagine, this would be very disruptive, especially for DeFi, so Ethereum developers try to avoid it at all costs. I hope this analogy helps visualizing the merge. Here's a bit more technical explanation of this upgrade. The merge is responsible for merging the user state of the Ethereum network with the POS Beacon chain. At the moment, before the transition to POS, in order to validate the Ethereum network, the node operators run one of the existing client implementations, such as Geth, Aragon, or Nethermind. These client implementations bundle the execution layer, EVM, and the consensus layer, POW. In order to transition the Ethereum network to the POS model smoothly, the execution and consensus layers are unbundled. This means that both of these layers can be run separately. They can also be developed by completely different teams specializing in one of the layers. After the merge, a full node will consist of an execution node and a consensus node. There's also an engine API responsible for the communication between the execution and consensus nodes. Decoupling the consensus and execution layers allowed for quicker initial launch of the Beacon chain without having to worry about the execution layer. When it comes to consensus layers, the most popular implementations at the moment are Prism, Lighthouse, and Teku. The existing client implementations will transition to being execution layer clients and will work with the consensus layer clients to form a full Ethereum node. With multiple client implementations on both layers, there are multiple different combinations of execution and consensus clients. For example, one validator may prefer to run Prism with Geth, another may prefer to run Lighthouse with Nethermind. With 4 popular execution clients and 5 consensus clients, there are 20 pairwise combinations. At the time of the merge, execution clients like Geth will start listening to blocks coming from the POS chain. The trigger for this switch will be determined by a new variable called terminal total difficulty, which represents the sum of the proof-of-work difficulties of every block accumulated on the Ethereum POW network. When the chain accumulates enough proof-of-work to exceed the terminal total difficulty, nodes switch to following the canonical POS chain. It's interesting to notice that for the first time an Ethereum upgrade will be triggered using total difficulty instead of the usual block height. This is to avoid an attacker mining low-difficulty malicious forks that would satisfy the block height requirement at the time of the merge and cause confusion on the final POW block. After the merge, all applications running on Ethereum should run exactly as pre-merge, with the state and transaction history maintained. This means that, for example, if we were a liquidity provider on Uniswap before the merge, after the merge the state will be the same, hence we will still be providing liquidity on Uniswap. If we had an open loan on Aave, this loan will still be in place, and users shouldn't notice any changes. The transition has been going through multiple intensive rounds of testing that include merging shadow forks and merging testnets. Shadow forks are copies of an existing Ethereum network. Merging them
I'm going to stop. It sounds so much work. I know I'm not saying like you got to be swinging a hammer or nothing, that kind of work. but I'm saying like, because I think about Pulsechain as an investor, right? And we all know Pulsechain. We don't have to beat around the bush. Maybe there's some guys in here that don't. If you don't know what Pulsechain is, put a 1 in the chat. I'd be curious. But this is a lot of work, Sam. I'm not saying anyone is underqualified. That is not what I'm saying. I'm just not saying that. What I'm saying is I don't know how many men are qualified for this in particular scaling solution kind of situation. But, if there was a room of guys and Jack Lev hopped in, then I'd be like, hey, it's a good shot on that one. He's done it once, right, on something. We know more technical. Blockchain's less technical than what he was doing. Let's be 100% clear. I don't care what he was doing. Blockchain is easier. He just copy and pasted 400 lines of code and 5 million people clicked on it in one day. He didn't copy and paste it. Obviously, they wrote it. But, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's important to understand, the more that I learn about Ethereum, the more that I realize that forking some of these things isn't just all what it seems to be for an end user like me who thought it was all just,
Simple.
So anything else you want to take from this? We're just going to let it.
No, this is actually really fascinating, understanding some of these little nuances that you don't understand. I think that it gives the conversion from proof of work to proof of stake a greater depth than most people are not aware of. So I think this is valuable to
Dude, they were testing the bonkers out of this thing, man. Testing the bonkers. And I'm telling you, that's wild, man. And I'm not saying that's wild because I know anything about that. I'm saying, man, they got guys in here working on this stuff. I use these blockchains. I know how they work. I know what the guys are doing with them, but they're probably really pushing the pace. In Ethereum, let's not beat around the bush. They are the brand name for intellectual integrity in cryptocurrency.
I agree. I 100%
Just like Tesla would be in the space of the vehicle, in my opinion.
I agree. Yeah, that's accurate. Yep.
You can buy a BMW electric, but I'm just going Tesla.
helps catch potential issues related to the current state of the network. These forks are usually abandoned after testing, and the purpose is to expose any potential problems. Unlike most shadow forks, merged testnets usually persist as POS networks. This helps developers with testing their applications on a chain that resembles Ethereum post-merge. After Ropsten and Sepolia, the last and most used long-lived testnet to merge is Gurley. After this is successfully executed, we can expect the announcement of the mainnet merge. Now let's discuss one of the interesting topics which was, to a certain extent, responsible for postponing the merge, which is client diversity. Ethereum, in contrast to a lot of other platforms, doesn't rely on a single client implementation. In fact, there are currently 4 mainstream implementations: Geth, Nethermind, Aragon, and Besu. Having multiple implementations allows for quickly switching to a different working client in case a bug is found in the software we're running. This makes Ethereum more resilient to attacks, as even a bug or an intentional exploit introduced by one of the clients would have limited consequences.
Sam, I'm going to stop the video here, but we're going to come back to all this stuff. Again, in my opinion, I'm going to drop this link in the private and in the public, and I'll put it in the description. This guy has a video on V3 liquidity providing that is so clean. I don't want to say it's the best video in the, really not the best.
Yeah, because they're clearly not talking about my videos.
No, but you know what I mean? The guy's obviously been doing this thing with the graphics and all this stuff. It is nice when you get a little class out of it. But guys like me and you, we look for that dirty information that we don't care if they got a chalkboard. We don't care if they got a notebook. We don't care if they got a Tesla, or if they're giving that good, you can tell right away. And so we're going to drop it there, guys. I recommend you watch this video 10 to 15 times. That's how I'm not the quickest study, but I am neurotic and I love to win. So my whole strategy is, how the whole world wants to speed up everything? My thing's why don't I just hammer this out in an hour and a half and listen to it 15 times and be done forever? Then I'll know what Aragon is. Then I'll know what all these things are. And then I can move on. Rather than being I watched that video once, maybe I can get the Cliff Notes, make $20 off of it and then not really understand anything that's going on in the big picture. And we're going to invite Jesse on in just 1 minute. I just wanted to show one thing for all the nerdier guys. Not even me, dude. I tried to be able to explain this, but I gave up. So, and it's not that it's that confusing, but every time he writes anything, it's just like, so Vitalik Buterin, guys, updated roadmap diagram here. And what he's highlighted here would be the Verge. So you see this little check mark here? It seems like he did a little updatey poo. Let's see what he wrote over here because we don't want to look at over there. Big changes. And again, guys, this is going to go over my head, but I just love saying these things and getting these words into my head so I can start to get some base on them. Big changes. The Verge is not just about Burkle treats. It's about verification. Endgame, fully snarked. That's the ZK snarks. Fully snarked Ethereum. The Scourge, new, ensure reliable and fair credibility, neutral transaction inclusion, solve MEV issues, single slot finality as stage 2 merge milestones.
That's the Scourge, or the Scourge or whatever, is interesting. So ensure reliable and fair credibility, neutral transaction inclusion. I think personally,
you get an idea on they added that?
I think they updated it because of Tornado Cash. Because you have things like the network that currently processes transactions for legacy. I forget what it's called. Please let me know in the chat. I forget what's the name of it's like Swipe or Skype or something like that. That network does not censor transactions. It's the banking level that censors transactions. On Ethereum, you have the nodes that are actually censoring them. So I think this update is due specifically because of what's happened with Tornado Cash and them censoring transactions. But sorry, I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, so that's it. That's all I'm going to show you guys, y'all. Hey guys, real quick, look at this stuff. 2 T's. Jim Rat Crypto with 2 T's. He's scamming everyone trying to get your money. If you want to send me money, send it to me. Don't send it to the rat with 2 T's. Please, God, please, please, please. This guy is clean as a whistle in the 2 T's. Guys, Jim Rat Crypto, you already know it. I already went to everyone that was mutual followed and told them to unfollow. And then like 50 more people followed. So I was like, maybe that's not a good idea just to interact with it at all. So please don't. I want to show everyone one more thing before we add Jesse up. Jesse, if I'm being really taking too long, I'm sorry, but we're literally 2 minutes. I just keep forgetting. Crypto in the Morning fam. And I'm going to copy this tweet and I'm going to drop it down. This one's critical. Crypto in the Morning fam. I need 1,000 guys. I don't ask much. Okay. I don't ask much. You know, I just want to belly rub some warm milk and some viewers. And like, I want 1,000 on this channel so that Bullish can get to work or like do more. Like, we want to move everything to this channel, and you got to get to 1,000 on the channel before it gets monetized, and then you can start adding all the stuff to it that you need to do for the long term. Please, I just want everyone to retweet the tweets, and if you do retweet the tweet, you are in a giveaway. That's coming from me. Bullish is going to add. Anyone can add to the giveaway if they want. Again, I'm not doing it till the 1,000, so I think that'll be like a week or so, and it's either going to be BNBP or PP token. So you're either getting, and it's from me. So because that's all really liquid, I'm willing to sell, to be quite clear. BNBP, PP token, both have liquidity and value on the market, and I've sold and bought, and both on both ends, and I like both the products, frankly, to a degree, and I own both of them. So we're making it into a PP.
Can I win?
No.
That's bullshit.
No PP for you. And no BNBP for you. And so, yeah, that's that, guys. Please retweet, support your boy. That's all. And this isn't even for, well, it is for me. It's for all of us. But I want people to retweet it. There's nothing bad here. This is family friendly. There's a lot of guys in the community that won't even interact with me anymore because their nuts are so small and their brains are so little that they cannot see past their ignorant bias brainwash for 2 seconds to realize some kids are in here to make people happy. I'm a happy dude. Sam's a happy dude. Bull's a happy dude. You're not going to take my shine away, bro, because I'm actually happy and you're actually a pleb in real life, clearly, because when I leave my house, I feel great. I get a coffee down the street. I gave $20 to the girl down. I don't have very much money to my name in cash at all. And they set up the cookie. I don't eat the cookies, but they have the cookie thing where they sell cookies. It's just like a bunch of little girls and their moms. And I threw them a 20, and I didn't want any cookies. And they were like, "Oh my God, really?" And I was like, "That's little compared to like what this world has to offer." And if that can make someone's day bright, like you can't think the way that the people that are hurting inside think, because they want others to hurt. Everyone that has life in prison wants you to have life in prison. That's true. If you're in prison, he's got 7 months out. What? Like,
Now,
okay, let's be done with it. I'm so stupid because I can't. Jesse.
Hey, looking at Vitalik's roadmap, there's just one thing that just you have to laugh at.
What is it? The splooge?
The splurge with a top hat next to it. And a splurge is the act of frivolous spending. I think that was a clear dig at somebody on Vitalik's part.
My boy.
Jesse, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you. For you guys who are not familiar with Ask Jesse, over on Twitter, just Ask Jesse. He's involved in the founder of a couple different projects out there. Super knowledgeable, super helpful. And
can I give him a little intro? I just want to say he's the founder of Power City. I got Power City t-shirts all over this joint. I met him in Vegas. We partied like rock stars. He loves building. He loves putting his ass on the line for this community. Ass, literally. He's got more money invested in this stuff, and he's willing to talk more truth about it than you.
I think one of Jesse, one of the things that I want to acknowledge you for, and not because you're putting the money there wherever it is, but keeping a mind that is open, and that's something that it requires intentional effort, and I want to acknowledge you for that, because I don't follow everything that you do, but I see pieces of what you do. And I've talked to you, I don't know how many times over the last year, and the effort required to continually maintain an open mind to different developments, different things that are happening in crypto. Respect and acknowledge you for doing that. But let's dive into the chat for tonight. Go ahead, Jesse.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. I always try to keep put on both shoes for a second, right? If we're going to talk about a topic, I want to talk about it or understand the perspective from one side as well as the perspective from another side. And then somewhere in the middle is going to be the truth. And I always try to do that with everything I talk about.
And I noticed that right away.
It's very obvious. You are going to be a part of Twitter Spaces tonight. Do you want to?
It's going to be huge. It's going to be huge.
So I would like you to explain this to me as well. Like I've told Sam, but I have other than me restreaming this and participating via that. Can you give us some insight, please? I really want to know what you guys are thinking about, talking about during this Twitter space later. We'll be live. If you don't have Twitter, I'll have all the links for all the stuff for everybody. So just
right. So in just over 6 hours time, right on Twitter Spaces, you're going to find many of the builders in our community all coming together to have one giant Twitter space. There's already hundreds and hundreds of people that have confirmed attendance that'll be there. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about all sorts of things. We're going to talk about the ecosystem, the way forward, some of our thoughts and feelings about some sentiment that's going around in the community. We're going to talk, what does it mean?
Is splurging on the? I get that. Splurging means spending too much money.
I'm thinking about, when you say splurge, I definitely do not think about spending too much money. I'm thinking about a different type of splurge.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, is it a sex joke or is it a money joke? And now I realize to splurge means to spend too much.
Yeah, the definition of splurge means an act of spending money freely or extravagantly, right? So, like,
Like me when the-
That was a clear dig right there. Vitalik putting a top hat next to the name Splurge. So I just thought that was funny.
Sorry for cutting you off, though. Continue with what do you think the general main sentiment that you want to get across is? I know KG has many a thing to say, but I haven't talked to you so much in the last 3 weeks, but we've talked a lot in the past. Now I know your takes on everything personally, so you don't really have to tell me. But what do you want to tell the people? And what is some of the things that like you're generally concerned with, but in an open-minded way, not like oh my God, and I'm not saying you're doing that, but I'm just like, I don't need to make things stressed out, but I do want to know what you guys are really thinking about.
The key takeaway tonight, I think that people are going to get, is that we all, in some form or fashion, whether we like each other's coins or not, whether we think somebody else's coin is going to go to zero or not, whether we think our project's better than somebody else's project, what matters is we all talk to each other. We all work together. We all try to help each other because we want to see a thriving ecosystem with mass adoption. Okay? Regardless who's better than what and which ones have utility and which ones are dogs and which ones whatever, put all that aside for a second. We want to see a thriving ecosystem and we want to see that ecosystem successful. So I think that's going to be the main takeaway tonight.
If this all works out and Pulsechain is super awesome, I'm going to be so excited because, and not even about the money, like I like cheap fees and I really like providing liquidity V3 with cheap fees. And those opportunities are few and far between for your boy GRC on assets that he actually likes. And if Pulsechain is out and I have all those ratios down in my head like a laser beam, I'm going to be after the time, of course, I can't predict what's going to happen right away, but I'm going to be super excited to have a real layer one with, cheap-ish fees. But Ethereum's fees are just not cheap, frankly.
Jesse, on a just an idea brainstorm here. Could a DEX between layers be like combine? I know I've talked about this before, but I'm just thinking about it slightly differently, like combining a DEX with a bridge, right? So that you provide the liquidity as in, Ethereum and Pulse, but it's in a DEX where you can swap between anything on the Ethereum side and you can swap anything on the Pulse side at the same time as swap between these two things. Do you see something like that coming out in the future, or what are your thoughts on something like that?
Yeah, so that's called cross-chain swapping that exists, and there's multiple ways to do it. There are there's a popular cross-chain swap people are using on ETH to swap into something on the Ethereum chain, right?
Well, which one is that?
And that's called the Swift, the Swift bridge.
Now, I have questions about that too for you, because GRC's wealth has basically been accumulated from selling ETHW on all-chain bridge. For the most part, there was a while there where I made a lot more than I was sending that ETHW from all-chain bridge to Binance and to Ethereum native token via the bridge. And I was just leaving it there, frankly. Like I was just kind of doing that. And then one day, GRC wants to make a move on some more ETHW, but no all-chain bridge. So I said, okay, well, let me go somewhere else. And then everything else went from 100 transaction confirmation to 1,500 transaction confirmation. And I found that is directly related to the liquidity in there. So all of this information is based on future promises of liquidity to a degree.
Kind of like at one point you saw it go to 3,000 confirmations. They're doing that to protect from how every now and then you hear about these bridge hack things where they're not even always hacks. Sometimes it's just somebody taking advantage of an amazing arbitrage opportunity that's not supposed to be there, right? So what they do is they enforce a high confirmation limit, like 3,000, which is a little high. That we have to like. That's hours. Actually, that's almost like 24 hours in some cases. Right?
Days.
It took me till the next morning, and it was 1,500 confirmation, and I woke up 8 hours later from when I sent it, so it was probably within 6 to 8 hours or something like that.
But the reason they're doing that is to make sure that you are not bridging at the most at a time where you're literally just going to be rinsing everyone for their money during a weird arbitrage.
Yeah, but then their shit shouldn't exist because it's going to get arbed out because it's trash.
But that confirmation number will float to kind of try to protect the user.
I'll never buy ETHW again. Ever once in my life will I ever buy. I don't think so. I have some still. But I do not think I will ever buy ETHW again in my life because when that bridge went down, I said, this sucks. I don't like not being able to move my money. On Ethereum, I can move my money right away. There's liquidity. So even if I got 10x on this, I don't like that I can't potentially move it. And I don't like the future of this anyway. Not ETHW, just like the way that goes with me moving my money. It's like once my money can't be moved, I get completely, I'm like, ETHW. And I'm not saying I'll never go back for some hex or something like this, but I'm saying as far as that native token action that I was getting with real liquidity that I thought was a good opportunity, they shut that down for a retail investors like myself. Howdy.
Right. Well, you know who else does cross-chain stuff? That's Multichain, formerly known as AnySwap. And you will see if just go ahead and search, you'll see Power City is partnered with Multichain to go to over 60 different blockchains from one, right? Start at any one of them, go to any other blockchain using any combination that you want within reason. There are limited selections, right? But cross-chain swapping is a real thing. Multi-chain is the most utilized bridge in the entire world, the most secure. You can read their white paper and you can see what makes them so big. Many times you'll find that bridges are just rebranded and the underlying code, well, they're just a front end basically for multi-chain. Multi-chain is the industry leader in this sort of thing. Go check them out.
I don't like the liquidity. Now that I'm learning the dirty details about the all-chain bridging and the liquidity, that it kind of like, it's like almost decentralized in a way. It's like when that liquidity gets too tight on one end and it becomes one-sided, which Sam talks about a lot within providing, they just make the transactions unbearable to do a confirmation, therefore stopping everyone from using it. And I tried to send my ETHW to Binance for 6 hours and I failed twice. And then the next day I got it on MEXC, centralized. I don't like going centralized.
Jesse, don't you think though that, like you had mentioned, protect the users, but I think back to say 2008 and Lehman Brothers and all the other companies that were doing stupid, foolish stuff, right? Where I think that those companies should have failed. And the government stepped in and gave them lots of money, right, to pay off their friends. Do you think that this is similar in the sense like locking somebody out from moving their money to supposedly protect people? Because that was the idea that they sold to the American people, that we're going to give all these bankers who caused the problem, who caused the issue, right? Like the pharmaceutical companies, right? They're causing all these other issues from this poison that people are taking. And then they'll be able to sell them other shit. So that kind of thing. Where it's not really for the best interest of the users. The best interest of the users is to let shit fail quickly so that we can learn from that and then move on to the next thing. What are your thoughts on that take relative to limiting confirmations to 3,000? It took over 24 hours for me to confirm a transaction from, I think it was Ether to ETH.
And that's Bitcoin 101 too.
That's literally normal on low liquidity chains, right? You're going to have lots and lots of confirmations that are required. And depending on the activity on those chains, that number just goes up and up. You could see the same on other brand new forks. If you see a fork that becomes highly successful and there's super thick liquidity and the coin's carried on multiple exchanges and the arbitrage opportunities are kept pretty thin. Not a huge price differential between all the different locations of the coin. Confirmations are going to be very small, like could be 100 confirmations, right, or 150.
Yeah, but I don't like the one part is like people can say ETH has low liquidity, right? Like, but then people with way more money come in with these dexes, and like just for example, I'm looking up UniW has $1 million in liquidity. UniW swap, the native token on ETHW, which you can buy with ETH on the has $1 million of liquidity, and it had that instantly.
Okay, but listen, you know why Ethereum requires only like 30 confirmations?
Because
there's billions of dollars of liquidity spread out across all different sorts of places, right? So the more liquidity is available and the tighter the arbitrage spreads, the less risk there is in somebody
I see handshakes
hacking. It's not even hacking. What's the proper usage of words for what happens in these bridges? Exploiting, right?
Right.
I
get it. It makes sense.
You don't want to see an exploit where there's just like somebody nukes the price on one place solely so they can drain a bridge, taking advantage of the price differential. So the thicker the liquidity is spread across the world in all these places, the less opportunity there is for somebody to exploit and drain a bridge. If the liquidity is thin across lots and lots of places, the confirmation numbers go up. They go up with
All-chain bridge.
bridge.
All-chain bridge allows ETH, and it has roughly 1/80th of the liquidity that ETHW has, and it allows those confirmations to go through because they trust them more than they trust those ETHW situation, and that's what I get worried about. It's not really that I care about whichever in particular, but at what point is this DeFi? Rather than just like, okay, it's the 10 guys that they just pick which, like, let's say Richard didn't want.
But did you say ETH is more trusted? It was sitting at 3,000 confirmations the other day.
Well, it's at least you can send it. I've never had a problem sending ETH and on ETH.
I had ETH and it was 3,000. Yeah, it took
a while though, probably
over
like
24 hours.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, frankly. But anyway, that's a whole topic on its own. You can usually find a way to swap stuff if you really want.
Adoption. How about let's word it like this: adoption solves everything.
Talk about that a little bit, because there's going to be a lot of the topics tonight, guys, at 6 p.m. EST.
The more widespread adoption something has, the more readily available something is across multiple different places, the more trusted it becomes. Community. We always say this, right? We're trying to build bigger and bigger communities. It's hard to run any protocol or any chain with a small community and little adoption, right? You start to run into issues that you don't even realize they're there until they hit you in the face, such as this 3,000 confirmation thing, right? Adoption solves everything.
Yeah, but what, like a real adoption though, like not liquidity, fake out adoption, which is what I see a lot of. It's like people with a lot of money really know how to play with the people, because when Hex Fair and Hex W launched on those two chains, nobody really knew what to make of it yet. But I liked Hex, and I knew that VC investors wouldn't be all over it too, which is, I was like, yeah, I'm probably just competing with all my buddies at this point. So like that was cool. But you don't see that in the other assets on the ETHW. You see immediate, just like you'll see on Pulsechain, I assume, immediate liquidity, immediate price parity. Like I'm not saying like the prices will be like the same day, but I'm saying like way much. There's already money sacrificed for Pulsechain, $1.8 billion. I hope that gets used for some real liquidity so we can have real active. I'm not all in for scooping everything right at the bottom. Like I also want adoption and real people and real liquidity and real trading and real users. And I really hope that comes to fruition with Bitcoin, but I don't really know how to like take all the liquidity stuff so much, because low liquidity is such an asset. Like when it comes to price pump, like I bought, let's say, $100 of Zen on Ethereum like 4 days ago now. And, it went up to like $600 or something at the top, I think. And I was like, wow, pretty interesting that I can put $100 into something, pull 600 out 4 days later with no problem with liquidity. I didn't pull it out, but I could have, with no problems with liquidity whatsoever, but it's still low liquidity, but I still have faith. I have faith that the liquidity will be higher.
So let's put this in perspective for a second. If on the correct side, or on one side versus the other, low liquidity during purchasing will make the price move harder than if it was high liquidity. That is entirely factual. But there are other consequences of having low liquidity in such a fashion, such as having perhaps a high valuation, and then compared to the low liquidity, the price pumped, and now you just have paper gains for all those people.
Especially if someone pulls the liquidity.
Right. So then if those people try to get out, the price moves just as hard going the other direction as it just did going up.
So is liquidity, you can almost think of it as like a virus in the sense that it tracks market cap, so to speak, in the sense that if market cap has a 10x, liquidity may not have a 10x, but it's going to grow at some ratio relative to that. Maybe it's 60% for every double.
It's never going to be proportional. What's interesting though is in the crypto world, we all catch ourselves saying how much we hate the dollar and how the dollar is, going to go to zero and crypto is going to save it or save the world and give us a different place to be able to transact. But in reality, the dollar may be inflating, but it has infinite liquidity. Meaning if you have $10 million, you can easily offload that $10 million into $10 million worth of bubble gum if you want, or $10 million worth of bicycles, or spread it around and buy some crypto with it, buy this, buy that, splurge. It literally has infinite liquidity. No matter where you go, people accept it, regardless if it's inflating or not. Now, compare that to crypto. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Link, or anything else, right? Cryptos do not have infinite liquidity. They have and stocks as well, right? Stocks fall into the same situation where the total valuation goes up and up and up, but the actual valuation, the actual extractable value, is only what's available on the markets for you to purchase or swap back into USDC or whatever the case may be to get some of that value out. Now, Bitcoin, as much as people in communities outside of Bitcoin like to shit on Bitcoin, Bitcoin has thrived because of how much liquidity it has. Okay? It has grown so slowly throughout all the years that you find it everywhere in the crypto markets. You find it wrapped on Ethereum, paired to numerous things. You find it on nearly every single exchange. It would be rare to find an exchange that does not carry Bitcoin. Everywhere you go, there's liquidity. The valuation has gone up, but so has the liquidity. The tradable, extractable value for that Bitcoin has kind of gone up proportionally with its total valuation. Okay? That's what makes people in the Bitcoin community believe that it is a good store of value. Ethereum could be a good runner-up. There are other coins that people believe are good store of values, but when you look at them, the total valuation is insanely different than the total liquidity, which you could argue is just a giant paper gain situation. And that's most of crypto. That would be 99.99% of all crypto falls into that category.
Other than Ethereum, Bitcoin, and maybe Binance.
I completely agree. I had two thoughts that were going through my head as I was listening that I want to hear your thoughts on. So Ethereum is paired with a lot of other things. And what are your thoughts on if there is a way to measure, right? And you're going to have to come up with some definition of how you want to measure this, whether it's just on mainnet or mainnet plus L1s around it, or L2s that there's some wrapped version, or another, bridged over or zero swap or whatever it is over to the other side. So Ethereum paired with, say, 6,000 different tokens in some fashion, or 20,000, whatever that number is. How does that affect the price movement of something? Or is that just skipping the market cap piece of it because they're so interrelated?
It does affect it. It makes it move slower. It forces it to move proportional to the actual adoption rate. Okay, so let me give an example. I love people typically understand after this example. I create a coin. I make 10 of them. Well, I make 1 trillion of them. Okay. I take 10 of them and I pair them to 10 USDC and I drop them in Uniswap. And what I just did is created a coin that has $1 trillion market cap, and each one of them cost $1 at that moment in time, because that's the pairing ratio that they're at on Uniswap. $1 trillion market cap. There's only 10 of them in the pool because it's also paired to 10 USDC. Somebody says, "Oh, I like that coin." He comes along and he buys one. Okay, and now in the pool, there's 9 tokens paired to 11 USDC. Okay, so what is the price at that point? The price becomes $1.22 if you want to buy another one, right? So if that guy was to buy 2 coins, the first one would cost 1 USDC, but the price impact, the movement in price, would cause the second token to be valued at $1.22, and the third token to be valued much more. By the time he gets to like 4 tokens, it's already doubled in price. He's only buying 4 tokens out of the pool, and the price has already doubled. And you just went from $1 trillion market cap to a $2 trillion market cap with less than $4 of economic energy. Okay, $4 of economic energy caused the total market cap to increase by over $1 trillion. Okay, so that's an extreme example of low liquidity and how it paints the picture of paper gains, unreasonable expectations of any of that being real. Okay, now compare that to something with very high liquidity, or at least more reasonable liquidity. Here's what you find. Same situation, 1 trillion tokens out there in circulation, $1 million worth of liquidity, i.e. 1 million tokens paired to 1 million USDC. Okay. The same guy looks at that and he says, "Interesting. I like this coin. There's only 1 trillion of them in existence, and they're priced at $1 a piece." He comes along and he puts $1 in. He puts $1 of USDC in. Now there's 999,999 tokens in the pool, paired against 1,000,001 USDC. What did the price do? Barely anything, right? The price barely moved. He paid $1. And now if he wants to buy 2 tokens, the next one's going to cost $1.00000000 whatever, and then the third token. He can buy a lot of tokens, and the price barely moves at all. So that's an example of what happens in a liquidity pool when there's more coins and USDC in there versus when there's less. The price impact starts to get slower the thicker the liquidity.
Because the one
But
side
you
only-
do have the advantage of all those extra circulating coins not being paper gains as much as if they were paper gains within liquidity. So there's a trade-off here. There's a trade-off. There's a trade-off of, do you only want to see the price knowing that the price is paper gains and it's a race to the door to get out? Or do you want slower gains with higher liquidity where more people are able to extract value without harming the price, and it goes up and down slower, right? That becomes the trade-off.
So
This is the reality of all crypto.
This is an amazing example. Thank you for sharing that, and it makes perfect sense. Do you know of a tool where, because this would be interesting data that I selfishly just want to look at this, the number of pairs, the totality of the number of pairs, say, for example, Hex, for example, is paired with so many different things on V2 and V3, right? So what is that number per network, right? And also, what is the total USD value, because they're different things, two different data points, relative to the market cap. There is a story to be told there, and there is valuable information there because, yes, outliers, as you were just talking about. I saw one the other day, and it was like $1 trillion market cap, and you're like, okay, clearly there's the manipulation going on right here, or just the very beginning stages of something. And if you were able to capture the total number of pairs that something is set with in relation to their market cap, as well as the total amount of USD that is in those pools relative to the market cap, you could tell a very interesting story. And in that story, you would find opportunities in LP and or investments, I believe.
I always tell people about supply shock in crypto and like getting coins off the market. Some guys do it very actively. Some guys don't do it at all. And you see with Bitcoin, because what are they supposed to do? There's no one there to do anything. So it's like you put the halvings there. They thought that would be the best long-term scaling option. And then something like Ethereum comes on 5 years later. And then just last couple months, the triple halving, the deflationary, the proof of stake change to the proof of work to proof of stake change really changed the tokenomic dynamic. You know what I mean? And that's why I always tell people about unit bias. I mention unit bias more than probably anyone. And that's one of the reasons I didn't like Pulse Doge off the bat. I said, yeah, I can have 50. Let's say I have 50 Pokemon cards that are worth whatever I think they're worth, right? If I sell one to Sam for $100 and he buys it, all the rest are now worth $100 in the represented liquidity, right? So the represented liquidity would just say $100 times however many. So, but people can trick you with that because they'll trick you and say, yeah, maybe it's something awesome. Well, in my opinion, like BNBP, for example, like, oh man, that wheel's going, it's burning stuff. Things are getting burnt off. People are staking, throwing it in there. So I'm like, oh, I'm cool on speculating on this. A lot of that coin's getting taken care of for me. But I know the average user's not paying attention to that unit number, right? Because that unit number will pinch. It is an exact number. Like there's only so much of these tokens. And that's why either making
people rarely look at that number.
Never do. They never.
You can see like things such as proof of weak hand stuff, like dare I say Safe Moon as an example. All people cared about, all people looked at was the price and all the zeros and how many zeros it would eat. But nobody was paying attention to the trillions and trillions and trillions of tokens on the market. Now there's some investors who do. They sit at their computer all day long. But the average person who just like is buying from their phone and their buddy told them to buy it, they don't care. They just see this thing that's cheap and they throw $100 at it. Okay. So where it all comes crashing down for stuff like that is when it becomes similar to what you find with like fractionally reserved things, right? Like Luna became so severely fractionally reserved, the total valuation of the stablecoin didn't make sense because there wasn't like you couldn't get all that money out. It was impossible because
that's why I was like, what you're describing is perfect. So that if there was a tool that showed the total, so you pick a coin and it shows you how many pairs this coin is tied with, and it also showed you the amount of LP in those pools in totality USD dollars, that would be a valuable metric to the marketplace. And nobody's creating that.
Nobody's created it yet. No, nobody's created it at all.
Tell your guys to set it up. If they do that as a tool, I will market that, which will have peripheral effects for them.
Yeah, I'll market it, whatever it is. I'll market it.
I'll use that.
And it should be fairly simple to build something that shows you like a factor number. A factor of 1 would be if there's infinite liquidity. Such like every single coin in circulation is available for you to like trade right now. So the only things on that would be stable coins, for example, certain stable coins. And then it would just categorize everything.
Yes.
Coin by coin by coin in rank order of which ones have the most liquidity compared to their total valuation.
I just don't think there's really enough people. I mean, we care about that.
Well, liquidity from 2 angles. It can't just be liquidity from. We got to define what liquidity is, right? Because it has to. Because otherwise, it's not.
Well, it would have to be a grade. So I feel like in that kind of system, like we would have to create a rubric, like of some sort, like the most fair rubric we could say. Obviously, it would be written in detail.
But that's where you get the two angles: number of pairs and USD.
Yeah, and then we can just have a chart that says this rating is a B-. Like it has decent liquidity, but there's not that much new users. Like whatever we make because again, Sam, a lot of these metrics come down to new users and people. Regurgitation of money is a real thing. People play games. Me and Sam might do a show today or tomorrow on icosahedron and HSI auctions because I am worried a little bit about the regurgitation of money rather than brand new users coming in. But I'm not saying it's a problem. I want to know more. And but again, it's this active regurgitation with liquidity and then all you have to do if you have a lot of money, pull liquidity, do a little buy, put liquidity back in at a different range. And then everyone says, wow, look at all this voodoo magic that just occurred. Like the price pump must be a whale, right? It's like, nah, dude, Jimmy just decided to get off his ass for once this month and pull liquidity, make a little move, have a little fun. Maybe that's a lot of money to them. Maybe it's a little, but just understand it's not always brand new users flooding into the system. That's just kind of what I wanted. I look for new users flooding system. Like I want that.
We could also measure, Jesse, I also want a recommendation, and then we have a question from the chat. I want a recommendation, like who should I talk to about, like, if you're watching this, you want to build something like this, I'll help you with this. But another metric that could be added to this, right? Total number of pairs paired with this thing, right? Total USD value of this thing, all relation to the market cap of that, as well as transactions, the total number of transactions.
You know what's interesting is you go to CoinMarketCap and you can scroll to the bottom on any token you look at and you can see where the liquidity is located. It'll tell you it's on this exchange and that exchange. And you've got V2 and V3. But what they don't want to show you is well, maybe they do. If you go look, you can see how much is located in each of those places, I guess.
Let's not get it twisted, though. They can pick and choose directly which ones they want to represent and not represent.
Right. They can. So and it's not always in the best interest of the largest holders like the exchanges for you to know any of this information.
Ooh.
Also.
Sam, this would be good because if we work together to make something like that, it's not a crypto.
Correct.
It's cool. Like it's like having a crypto is cool too, but some people everyone's in a different position when it comes to making that happen for where they're at. but a tool that me and Sam used every day. That might be a different story. Plus, me and Sam are obsessed with doing things in an unbiased way. So we would just be disgusted if anything was biased on there. I'm just like spitballing because I have ideas too. Sam has so many ideas, like, but we're not builders, but we are willing to work with builders and we are willing to talk all the talk because we want to get involved and really make this space better. Start slow, but with a sweet ass website that can help everyone in crypto, like right.
Because there's so many other tools. There's ideas, like I have a fuckload of ideas. I'm not sure. I want to build it. I just don't know how to actually
You
go
could
through
make the videos on it, so your face could just be sitting on the side, and like every time there's an update, you'll do that video, and you'll say, "Hey, the grading, or whatever." Like I don't know that verbiage, but like, "Hey guys," and then you'll just be respected as like the guy, and then I'll do videos on it. Obviously, other people will start doing videos on it as well. But if we can get intellectual integrity back at the top of some list somewhere, I would like to be in that fight. And I think a good start is a fair place. Like Deck Screener is the only place I go, and I don't find too many problems with it. But I mean, there's 150 add-ons that I could think of daily. But it's just like, oh, no one's done it yet, so I guess I'll wait.
Yes, I think that we can definitely build this. Jesse, Crypto Wash wants to hear your thoughts on this. Can we get your opinion on Poly? Is there a concern that some of these derivatives are going to bring more attention of the SEC? And what do you think about Poly in general?
Does he mean Polygon?
No, Poly as in like the Hedron Maxi guy.
He might not have looked into it. Have you looked into that?
I haven't done a deep dive into that yet. So will that bring attention? I can't answer that. I don't know.
Yeah, and again, Sam, we get lost in the weeds sometimes, but these are derivatives on a derivative HSI auction. so people just don't get there with their studies yet. If they're doing
it is worth people understanding that to some extent, all crypto is like a zero-sum game. Okay. All stocks are similar. Okay. If a dollar comes into an ecosystem and gets put into a liquidity pool because somebody chooses to purchase something, then somewhere else can go to that same liquidity pool and take that dollar back out.
Now,
it doesn't matter how many ticker symbols are inside of that ecosystem. It's still subject to the only available resources to get out being the same resources that come in, regardless of how many ticker symbols are inside of that ecosystem. So it does start to become a shell game of just help pump this thing, extract value through this other thing. But the only available money to get out is what comes into the entire ecosystem to begin with. So ask yourself, does having a derivative bring additional value to an ecosystem, or does it just shuffle the value and allow you to extract through someplace else?
Well, now, what if remember how we said there's a supply number, right? There's always going to be a supply number. Now, let's say Sam puts $1 into a liquidity pool, and then he wants to do the same thing the next day. But the creator of the project took 50% of the circulating supply of tokens and burnt them. Would that make his next purchase have a different price than with no other buyers?
So state the scenario again before I up on my end.
Sam, I might have a couple guys for us at like 3:34, so I'll just text you, but you don't have to
call me. Jesse, I got like another call. I appreciate you, dude. I'll talk to you later.
We'll close up, bye, Sam. I'll talk to you soon. We'll be on today later. You know what I mean? Like if they burn the supply and then they buy it again, like wouldn't the like in Ethereum's example, like super hyperinflationary now. Is it necessarily because more buys came in that the price is a lot higher? Or is it because massive amounts are getting burnt with the similar price buying volume?
I haven't done a deep dive enough to analyze it. So I
Right.
can't
Like,
comment.
but I know, like, I don't know the whole burn. Like, is it gone from the circulating
And
support?
I don't want to comment on anyone's particular ticker symbol today.
Of course.
I'm just speaking in general terms how all
We all
crypto
just want
works.
the best. We all want the best. So give us a last statement you got for me on what's going on tonight. Well, I'm going to have it all streamed up and linked up, but like, guys, if you're not going to check out this Twitter space tonight, go to KG's, go to Just Ask Jesse's Twitter, and they have it posted. There's a Twitter space with the builders of Pulsechain tonight. Jesse, is it going to be exclusively the builders and then everyone else can kind of just listen?
People will be able to interact and ask questions.
Is there a moderator?
KG is going to moderate today.
Make sure
And
that
there's going to be a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of people. I think even Steph from Staker App is showing up. You've got Walrus from Liquid Loans. You've got the Power City team. You got the Fiat team. You got lots and lots of builders all showing up in one place to answer the community's questions.
Right. I would love to. I'll have a question prepared. I'll write a question down and have it prepared, but I will be streaming this live. Sloth, one in the chat if you're free for an ICOSA, HSI, Poly breakdown today. We're trying to get some people informed because people are starting to forget. Yeah, no, I can't wait for that. I'm excited. I'm going to prepare a question. Thanks for coming on, bro. It was a good talk.
Thanks for having me. It seems like every time I come on, we go down some rabbit hole.
That's all we do every time. So you just basically joined the rabbit hole squad, and you're just a great candidate for rabbit hole time.
Right.
But guys, if people are going to be, there's people in this community that will not even interact with me anymore. I frankly have no idea who they are. Like, I don't really know the specifics, but there's people that won't even like come on the show, interact with me, answer questions anymore because they think like I'm bad for their brand. Everyone who feels that way, you're so stupid. Like, you're stupid. Like, if you think that I'm up here trying to make everyone think I'm smart, like all this stuff. No, incorrect. This isn't that difficult, frankly. And I'm here to tell people that it's not that difficult. And I'm here to bring some light and some clarity to the average person. And yes, I am the average person that you can study for 2 or 3 years and figure out way more than all your buddies know, and way more than a lot of the guys that have way more money than you know. And it doesn't really mean you're going to be successful long term, but the information is out there. And I see a bunch of grown men who are not willing to study, not willing to learn, not willing to do anything, but want to put their faces on the internet and talk crypto all day. And I don't agree with it. So I want more intellectual integrity. Guys, Crypto in the Morning live every single day. Biceps in the chat for Jesse. Sloth just answered another time, maybe during the week. Not today, moving on to work. All right, brother. Hey, get me someone on. Nobody will talk to me anymore. I hope everyone's cool. Hey, what's that one, guys? Anyway, got to go. Crypto in the Morning. Jesse, thank you. I hope you have a great day. We're going to be asking you questions later. Guys, make sure you follow Just Ask Jesse on Twitter. He's the founder of Power City, and we're all going to the moon. Bye-bye.
Cool.
You already know what time it is.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Waiting on phone.
Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Waiting on phone.
Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Smoking a blunt on my way to the gym. 11 a.m. and I'm already tuned in. Got me some hex and I'm making a stake. Got me some hedge and I'm making it rain. Pay me some maxi and that's just in case. Jim Reddit sent me to show you the way.
D5 Pro.
Crypto in the morning.